Chapter 10. Escape from Solent Keep. The 5th dark day of Edrin, 819. 51 days until Sown. Fiegel quietly closes the treasury door. The armory is locked. The only place left to check is the 3rd room. Fiegel retrieves his candle while I check on Jory one last time. The 3rd door creaks open, followed by silence. As I round the corner, Fiegel stands motionless inside the door. "What are you doing here?" he asks in a small voice. "You come in as well, Druid," a voice calls from within. I glance down the corridor to the treasury and Jory's spear. It's a mere 7 paces away. "You'd never make it to the spear," the voice calls. I'm forced to enter the room. Fiegel is sweating profusely as he props himself up against the doorframe. He drops his torch and makes no effort to retrieve it. Fiegel's eyes are closed, and he's muttering some sort of chant. "And done," the voice says triumphantly as he snaps his fingers. Fiegel's chant ceases. I turn to face the limping man from our entrance into the city. "You! Did you think the Black Lord controls this city all by himself?" "What did you do to Fiegel?" "What you saw was our mental duel. He tried." There's still a steady pulse in Fiegel's neck. "Impressive. You two made it farther than anyone else ever has, but no one will ever know, will they?" I throw Fiegel's reed torch at him, and it flies through his chest. The illusion dissipates, and our only light hits the back wall. "Tell me, did you know that was an aura, or were you just angry?" He steps out from behind a curtain and kicks the torch into the corner, where there is nothing to catch fire. "It took forever to tame Seisel's anger." I back up slowly toward the door. "That won't do," he says. "Close the door." I stare down in disbelief as my limbs obey another master. The door closes with a resounding thud. "You can tell me what you hope to accomplish here, or I can root around in your mind until I find it. Your choice." I focus on the image of a bear and will myself to take its shape. None of that, either. The silly druidess was forever trying to turn into a bird or a squirrel or a toad. You can't hope to perform any of your magic. I'm in your mind, and I can stop you with ease." He sighs. "It took forever to resculpt her mind away from those druid tricks. I don't have time for that. So, if you would rather I do this..." The image of me being intimate with Ysella at Lugnasa is pulled up in my mind. I relive every sound, every physical touch as faithfully as the night it happened. I can feel the warmth of her body and my arousal. Then the memory goes blank, and I'm nearly overcome with exhaustion. "Interesting," he says with a condescending smile. "Now, would you like me to pick out other memories that are not at the top of your mind, and are of a more painful nature, or will you answer my very simple question?" I start recalling all the healing herbs and their seasons that Gwalathur made me memorize. 1,000 leaf in the fall for divination, meadwort in the summer for a well-flowered ale, lovage leaves in the spring for digestion. I see we will have to do this the hard way. My spine starts tingling. Whether it is from my fear or his control, I can't say. I send out a mental plea for help. "And who do you think is going to come to your aid?" "What have you done to Fiegel?" I stall for time. "He'll recover shortly. My lord insists I don't kill intruders. He likes to save that pleasure for himself." He leers at me. "How did you know we would be here tonight?" "Boy, my job is to identify petty threats like you and observe your actions. I know that you two have been staying at the flea trap of a tavern by the horse stalls. I know it was you who assaulted the dockmaster. I've been following you two for the last 4 days as you tripped your way all over the city. Young Feagle's tampering with the barkeep's mind was enough to bring both of you in, but I waited to see your whole pitiful plan unfold. Once the Lord left on his errand, I was reasonably sure that we would meet here tonight. I open the door behind me. In a tired voice, he says, "And still you would resist me." I take a couple steps back into the doorway before my body goes rigid. Silly Druid. He draws a knife from under his robe and taps the dull side of the blade in his left hand. Should I take an eye or an ear? He cocks his head sideways to ponder his decision. The Obsidian Lord will not be pleased, but I think it's worth facing a bit of his ire. My body is as immovable as a stone. I watch as the knife eases closer and closer to my left eye. I hear laboured breathing coming from the stairs. "What do you want with the ghost orchid?" I shout. "Thank you for telling me what you were seeking here. If you would have told me sooner—" "No, not my eye," I beg. His cruel grin expands. He giggles softly, intoxicated by my fear. "I'm sorry," I scream. 5 stones of canine fury bound through the door from behind me and digs its teeth into the limping man's shin. He screams out in pain as Crichton starts to thrash his head side to side. The man drops down to the ground, frantically trying to dislodge Crichton. I grab the Druid's staff set next to the doorway and connect with the limping man's head. The room falls silent, except for Crichton's panting. Shallow breaths let me know my attacker is alive for now. Crichton is wheezing as he releases his bite. He lies on his side, whimpering anxiously. I gently pat Crichton on his chest before stepping over him. I slam the end of the staff with all my might against the limping man's neck. He will never attack anyone again. I drop to one knee and check on my canine friend. Crichton is trying to rise, but his legs can't seem to gain purchase. His tail starts nervously slamming into the floor. I scratch his chest as I pay attention to his breathing. The pace and force of his tail hitting the floor lessens, but it is not because of my affection. His breath is wet and laboured. "Easy, Crichton," I coo. "You are the best friend a man could ask for." I gently stroke his patchy coat. "Rest now, and take a break from your aches and pains. Easy now. Let the great sleep take you." I mentally project peace and calm to him. He exhales, and his chest fails to rise again. I peer into his big, sad eyes and know that my friend, my saviour, has passed on. I close his eyes and sit puzzled. I know of no prayers for animals when they make the passing. If ever there was an animal who earned another life, I must ask Boswin for direction when I return to the moor. Grabbing the limping man's torch, I check on my nephew. Feagle grunts and his eyes twitch sporadically. I slap him a couple of times on the cheek and call his name. He's moving, but not very well. The room has the same feel as Master Gwalither's cottage, right down to the organisation of the ingredients and the mortar and pestle made from oak heartwood. What is a Druid's study doing here? I crush some mint leaves and place them under Feagle's nose. I scan the pots for wolfsbane and Jimson weed. I crush them together in water and add some dried wild onion. I pour the mixture down Feagle's throat. It only takes a few heartbeats before he is roused from his stupor. I search the room while he coughs and sputters. All the desks are filled with herbs except one. It has a petrified ghost orchid sitting in the centre, and 3 symbols scribbled in the dust: flower and below, I say, reading the first two symbols. The flower must be referring to the ghost orchid. I check beneath the desk. Nothing. There is another sigil written in the dust, but I don't recognize it. I upend all the other desks. No sign of the orchid. Fiegel struggles to get to his feet, leaning on the wall for support. Is Venta where the Dark Lord is going? What? That's the city symbol for Venta. He points at my undeciphered sigil. I have no idea what the other two mean, but that's definitely Venta. With an uneven gait, he walks over to me. How do you know that? Before the agents of the Black Lord came, Father would make swords for clan and city leaders from all over southern Brittany. I had to learn the symbols for all the cities around us. Flower, below, Venta. What does this mean? That solves one mystery. I grab the stone flower and erase the symbols from the desk. Can you walk? Do I have a choice? I offer my shoulder for support. He surveys the room, keying on Crichton and the limping man. What happened? I'll fill you in later. Can you get us past the guards at the bottom of the stairs? Fiegel's eyes flutter and he inhales deeply. No, I feel empty. We stumble toward the steps. Wait, maybe they can help us get out of here. He points to the prison door. It can't hurt to find out, I say. I leave him leaning up against the opposite wall. The cell is dark, and there's little sign of life from within. Is there anyone who wants out? I ask. Who are you? A short man with a stubby beard asks. I'm willing to release you if you can get us past the guards at the bottom of the stairs. Why bother? The Dark Lord's second will stop us dead in our tracks. If I pray to Melkort, perhaps I can die in this cell. Is that man the one with the limp? I ask. Yes, and he's never far away. You're right, only this time, he's dead. The man's eyes become unfocused as he grabs hold of the bars. I can't sense him, he says excitedly. Where did you see him last? He is lying 2 rooms over with a broken neck. The man perks up at once. Open the door, and I will happily take care of all the guards we meet personally. No killing, I say. We can't arouse the watch. He pauses for a moment. Agreed. What is your name? Offswith, at your service, he says with a slight bow. I search in vain for a lock. Frustrated, I ram the door with my shoulder and stumble inside. The door wasn't secured. You were always free to go. To what end? The limping one was always nearby. This door meant protection from him. As long as you didn't draw attention, he usually didn't punish you. Well, come out quickly and bring whoever is able. Offswith exits by himself and inches himself to the top of the stairs. The guards are absorbed in their game of dice. He clenches his jaw and shuts his eyes for a moment. The guards won't cause us any problems. I let my disbelief show. He claps repeatedly and gets no response. I peek around the wall to see the guards sitting motionless below. They won't cause us any trouble. How long do we have? I ask. A good while. I'll get the rest of the prisoners. I retrieve Fiegel and we shamble to the stairs. I can spot no physical injury. At the bottom of the stairs, the motionless guards stare motionlessly at the dice. Time creeps by as we wait for the prisoners to emerge. The clinking of coins alerts me to Offswith's true mission. He issues a low curse as a gemstone hits the ground and tumbles down the stairs. I catch it with my free hand and hold it at arm's length as Offswith descends. He stuffs it into a hole in his shirt. I've got pockets everywhere, he says. Fiegel inspects the guards. The waking sleep, he says, with grudging approval. Can you walk on your own? I ask. For a little while. Good. We'll have to ditch the master and slave act. Take a torch and walk in front of us. Fiegel shambles on ahead, with each step becoming more sure-footed than the last. Offswith takes out a huge golden torque from his pouch and lingers behind as he admires it. Offswith, are you coming? One moment, he says. He puts the torque away and grabs something else from his bag. One of the guards collapses to the ground with a thud. Offswith spins and plunges his dagger into the second guard's chest as well. He falls out of his chair with the same vacant eyes and bleeding chest. The whole keep will be looking for us at the next changing of the guards. Did you think no one would notice that the Lord's second is dead? Offswith replies. Now, follow me and keep quiet. He strides past me, humming a pleasant tune to himself. Thanks to Offswith's bravado and mental abilities, we make it out of the keep. The gate will be closed at this time of night, so we'll have to lie low somewhere in the city, Fiegel says. Can you trade one of your gems for lodging? I ask Fiegel. Offswith grabs Fiegel's hand before he can withdraw one of them. He sneers at us. If you want to announce yourselves as the thieves of the keep, then by all means spend the Obsidian Mage's fortune in his own city. He shakes his head. Good luck to you both. I'm going to go it alone from here. We watch Offswith circle around to the wharf. No doubt some poor fisherman is going to be missing his boat, Fiegel says. We need to get to the animal stalls. Fiegel creases his eyebrows in confusion. It's best we not be seen entering the inn after the guards have been killed. It might lead to uncomfortable questions. I project calm to the animals before we even arrive. The huge empty stall in the back is empty. We need to be out at first light. The stall-keeper won't be so kind if he sees us here again, Fiegel whispers. Now, tell me what happened back there and why you took that stupid stone flower and nothing else. When a druid has finished his training, he is given his white robe and a quest he must fulfill. This is my quest. Fiegel waits for me to say more. After a long silence, he shakes his head in disgust and drops to the floor in the corner of the stall. He falls asleep at once. I transform back into the brindle-coated dog and melt into the shadows. Once the city settles in for the night, I sneak into the inn and retrieve my pack and our original clothes. Before Belanos rises, I lick Fiegel's face until he wakes. His eyes grow big and his mouth opens. I lick his tongue and the top of his mouth. He sputters and lurches his head away from me. I straddle his body and resume my tongue work. Why? He demands. What makes you think this is a good idea? He pushes me away and sits up while scraping his tongue with his front teeth. My tail swishes back and forth. He scowls at me, but he's collected his wits. He replaces his nobleman's clothes with his my-done attire. Stay in that form, uncle. The guards may want to question the young lord and his slave from last night, but no one will think twice about a boy in unkempt clothing and his dog leaving the city. He stands and stretches. Let's get moving. I playfully nip at his leather shoes as we make our way to the main gate, much to Fiegel's consternation. A large, agitated crowd has amassed in front of us. What's happening? Fiegel asks. The gate's been sealed. Prisoners escaped last night, and the city guard must round them up before anyone is to leave. How can prisoners escape? Fiegel asks. Can't the Black Lord just mind control them back into the prison? The man smiles at Fiegel shrewdly. You ask good questions, young lord. Osgar of Totten is my name, Fiegel responds. Well, Osgar, if I were you, I would go back to your inn and secure another night's lodging. I wager no one is leaving the city today. We walk through the deserted market, putting a good distance between us and the gate. Fiegel gives the keep a wide berth, and we end up near Jory's home. I can't help but feel guilty. I change back into human form. Fiegel, give me a couple of your silver coins. He squints at me as he complies. I hand him my pack before I dash down the alley and slide the coins underneath Jory's door. Fiegel starts to ask a question, but thinks better of it. It is only fair, I explain. You need to remain a dog for the rest of the day. The fish market is bustling, and we find ourselves in the thick of it almost immediately. Fiegel keeps one hand on his money pouch as we wander aimlessly. If you want to leave the city, follow me, Offswith says as he materializes behind us. I let out a low growl to voice my displeasure. Quiet, Druid, Offswith commands. He leads us to the lower docks. They are concentrating their search in the north of the city for now. Most prisoners would run straight for the north gate and would be easily captured. It will be a while yet before they inspect everyone in the crowd. Then they'll move the search down here. And why should we trust you? Fiegel asks. You broke your promise not to hurt the guards, and you ran from us once we were free of the keep. Because we will all be sent to the King's Mark if they capture us. He looks at Fiegel. Can you convince a boater to give us a ride across the river? I don't think so, Fiegel responds sullenly. Then I will provide our escape. Offswith smirks at me. And this means that you are now in my debt. Why did you wait until now to take a boat? Fiegel asks. The half moon still gives off too much light. The watch would have noticed a boat leaving, and I'd be riddled with arrows. Come, we have to hurry if we're going to make the tide. Once on board the simple fisherman's boat, Offswith turns to us. Do you know what the King's Mark is? No. The Dark Lord first did this to the old ruler of the city, King Mark. Now it's the name of the most heinous punishment that can be meted out. First, he compels you to walk to the gallows and spill your own guts in front of the whole city. It's mandatory. Everyone must come out or answer to the maniac. And of course, he can tell if you're lying, so no one chances it. Anyway, you are made to toss your intestines over the scaffold and wrap another part around your neck. Finally, he mentally nudges you to jump off the platform and strangle yourself. But won't the intestines rip? Fiegel asks. Aye, they usually do. Then you're left for the dogs. He picks this moment to scratch me behind my ears. Once the boatman turns his boat back toward the city, I transform back to myself. Fiegel, leave your nobleman's tunic here with my slave's smock. If we should be stopped, we don't want to have these on our person. If you have no use for those, I will gladly take them, Offswith says. Take it, in payment of my debt to you, I say. You put so little value on our escape. With luck, we will never meet again. Offswith mockingly bows to me. May your next spoils be more substantial. He breaks off into the woods at a trot. Uncle, check your bag. The stone flower is gone. Leave him be, Uncle, Fiegel says. He'd only mind control you when you get close, and I'm in no shape to give chase.